Good morning everyone, this is Dana. Today I want to teach you how to do my lattice stitch. This is the lattice stitch shawl that I've created with the stitch pattern. I've also written up patterns for a hat and for a scarf using this same technique. My technique here uses basically two rows. The first row is yarn over, purl two together, which I'll show you. And then the next row is comprised of every peg having an FTE stitch done. And FTE is just an acronym for flat then E-rep. But I'll explain it all here in a second. Let's get the loom and I'll show you how to do it. Alright, I have started the lattice stitch on my loom here. This is a 3/4 inch gauge loom. And just so you refresh your memory, the gauge on a loom is measured by the distance from the center of this peg to the center of its adjacent peg. So the distance between the center of this peg and the center of that peg is 3/4 of an inch. So we call this a 3/4 inch gauge loom. Alright, the lattice stitch, like I said before, is made up of basically two rows. The first row is simply yarn over, purl two together, yarn over, purl two together, and you continue in that pattern until you get to the end of your row. To do a yarn over, purl two together requires two pegs. So I'm using these two pegs, my first two pegs. The yarn over is simply done by taking the loop off of the first peg and placing it on top of the loop on the second peg. My yarn over then is the working yarn that goes over the empty peg, and I purl two together. Repeat that on the next two pegs. Yarn over, so I pick up the loop on the first peg, move it to the second peg. My working yarn goes over the empty peg, and I purl the two loops on the second peg as though they were one. So there's my yarn over, purl two together. Again, yarn over the empty peg, purl two together as one. Last one. Move the loop from peg 1 over to peg 2, place my working yarn over the empty peg, purl the two loops as one on the last peg. And that is how you do the yarn over, purl two together. Now when I go back the opposite direction, I am doing what I call an FTE stitch on each peg. FTE is just an acronym, FTE, for flat then E-wrap. So I will flat knit each peg, then I will E-wrap that exact same peg. I do that on each of the pegs back through. So let me show you how we do that. Take my working yarn and I flat knit that first stitch, and then I E-wrap it and knit off. Go to the second peg, flat knit it, and then E-wrap it. So FTE, flat, then E-wrap. It doesn't matter if you're working right to left or left to right. Doesn't matter which direction you're going. The technique is the same. So again, next peg, flat, then E-wrap. Again, flat knit, then E-wrap. Flat knit, then E-wrap knit. 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 And that's it. So those are the two basic rows when doing the lattice stitch.